You know that feeling when you hear the words goal setting and your eyes just instantly glaze over? Yeah, we've all been there. It often feels like this soul-crushing, jargon-heavy corporate chore that's just another tedious thing added to your to-do list. But stick with me here, because in today's Explainer, we're taking Mike Gould's work, The Pursuit of Inspiring Goals, and we're totally stripping away all that heavy management speak. We're going to build a conversational, highly personal toolkit instead. Because whether you're an individual contributor at the office, running a busy household, or volunteering in your community, we need to make these fundamental concepts actually work for you, not against you.
So let's start by just acknowledging the elephant in the room, goal fatigue. It is so incredibly real. You play by the rules, right? You write everything down perfectly, you make sure your goals are quote-unquote smart, and then you still fall short. It's frustrating, and it really begs the question, why? Why do our perfectly formatted SMART goals still fail so often? And why do they always feel like such a massive burden to carry?
Well, Mike points out something here that I find incredibly validating. He argues that setting goals really shouldn't be this demotivating exercise in mindless box checking. Now, does goal setting take effort? Absolutely. It's hard work. But that hard work should actually result in a highly motivating and inspiring environment. As Gould puts it, why would we ever want to put in all that work to create goals for a world we'd completely hate to live and work in? Okay, let's dive into this. To fix this whole paradigm, we have to look at a quote from Warren Bennis. He said, "Managers do things right, but leaders do the right thing." Now, I know, that sounds like the ultimate cheesy boardroom cliche. But bear with me, because understanding the nuance in this distinction is actually the critical key to defining the value of your goals and stripping all the dread out of your planning.
Let's translate this out of the corporate boardroom for a second. Leadership is simply about discernment. It's about identifying and figuring out the best, most inspiring destination. It's doing the right thing. Management, on the flip side, is about building the absolute best, most efficient path to get to that destination. It's removing the roadblocks and making those constant course corrections along the way. Think of it this way. You can have amazing management without good leadership, but great leadership is literally impossible without good management backing it up.
And that perfectly sets us up for another classic corporate pairing that we really need to demystify right now: strategy versus tactics. Strategy is all about deciding on a destination that gives you the maximum benefit. It's focused entirely on effectiveness. Tactics, though, those are the focused, ordered, and manageable milestones you use to actually get there. They're all about efficiency. And honestly, blurring the lines between these two is exactly where pretty much all of us get tripped up.
Let's look at this trap in action through a super relatable story. Meet John. John wants to get healthier and lose weight. Initially, he thinks, I'm going to lose 50 pounds. But then he remembers, oh wait, my goals need to be SMART. So he scales it back to 20 pounds to make it more achievable. He writes down, lose 20 pounds by December 31st, and he gets right to work. 3 months roll by, and he's lost just 5 pounds. Life happens, things get busy, he starts to struggle, and eventually he completely fails. Why? Because John confused a massive strategic goal with a daily tactical one. And this brilliantly illustrates one of our absolute biggest blind spots when it comes to planning. John's goal to lose 20 pounds, that was a fantastic strategy for building a healthier life. But it failed entirely because he didn't set any tactical milestones. He honestly would have crushed it if he had just set a tactical goal to, say, lower his daily calories by a specific amount, or to simply exercise exactly twice a week. You see, tactics are those actionable daily steps that actually end up producing the grand strategic result.
So when you break it all down into a sort of mental cheat sheet, strategy is your multi-year foundation. Think of it like a big 5-year family plan. It needs to be sticky, because if you're constantly changing your overarching strategy, you are going to give yourself whiplash. Tactics, however, are your short-term, metric-driven initiatives. They should be completely fluid. The very second you find a faster, better way to hit your milestone, you swap out the tactic based on the data. Basically, strategy asks, are we going the right way? While tactics ask, are we on time?
But here's the real danger zone we need to watch out for: the strategy versus tactics blind spot. Tactics are highly measurable, right? Which means they give us those really fun, immediate little dopamine hits when we check them off. But if you're out there furiously checking off daily tasks that aren't actually anchored to your foundational strategic plan, you are going to lose momentum so fast. It's literally like running incredibly fast on a treadmill. Sure, you're sweating, but you are going absolutely nowhere.
So, how do you actually figure out your place and your next steps without getting totally lost in some intimidating maze of corporate ladders and org charts? Well, the source material suggests using what's called the lens of accountability.
Which, yeah, I know, sounds like more corporate jargon, but stay with me. It really just means looking at what people are actually responsible for providing every day rather than staring at their formal job title. It's about looking around at your team or your community and identifying how your daily efforts can naturally overlap to move the whole mission forward.
To put this into practice, pick a few of your colleagues and really ask yourself, what are they genuinely accountable for day to day? How does their specific work relate to the big picture strategy? Where do they see things going in the next 1 to 5 years? And most crucially, how do their roles overlap with what you need to do? This is all about reclaiming your own agency. Instead of just sitting around complaining or waiting for leadership to hand down some perfect roadmap, you focus on what you can control to push the mission forward.
Now, before you sit down to draft a single goal, you have to gather your raw materials. It's the necessary groundwork. The author notes that for believers, this preparation practically begins with prayer, taking that critical time to listen and seek wisdom. But regardless of your background, the very next step is gathering holistic data. We're talking about reviewing mission statements, digging into your specific responsibilities, looking at the data, and understanding key organizational strategies, like, for example, the 4 pillars of Hope Church mentioned in the text. You absolutely have to know what matters most before you start building.
So, the crucial point is, once you have those materials in hand, it is time to break out of that short-term, constrained thinking we all get trapped in. Ask yourself this really powerful question. If you had absolutely no resource constraints, no limits on your time, and honestly, nothing to fear, what would be the absolute most favorable state of your role in 5 years? Extending your timeline like that forces you to stretch, dream big, and formulate a true strategic goal.
In practice, what does this actually look like? Well, your massive, unconstrained 5-year strategy might be implementing a fully paperless documentation system, or maybe drastically reducing the average age of engagement in your organization from 55 down to 40. You obviously can't pull that off in just a year, so you create a fluid, 1-year tactical milestone, something like migrating just one single request process to electronic forms by quarter 3. See how that works? The massive multi-year vision is the strategy, the manageable, measurable 1-year step is the tactic.
Of course, crafting these goals is really just day 1 of the journey. The daily rhythm of execution and management is a muscle you have to build up over time. If you want to dive deeper into the daily management of these fluid, tactical steps, the author recommends 2 fantastic books from the source material, The 4 Disciplines of Execution by Franklin Covey and Traction by Gino Wickman. They are both helpful for keeping that momentum going day after day.
At the end of the day, goal setting really doesn't have to be a soul-crushing chore. It is simply the act of taking the agency you have right now and using it to make your world a better, more inspiring place to be. If leadership is all about choosing the right destination, then stepping up to set a clear strategic goal is the ultimate way to lead yourself. So look past your constraints for a moment. What is the most inspiring destination for you? And what specific tactical step are you going to take this year to actually start getting there?